Good evening and welcome to Laverite, zenes. Tonight we tackle an issue that remains at the heart of our society, gender equality. In Mauritius, we've seen countless cases of femicide, countless stories also of domestic violence, many of them unreported, and at the same time, young women often face harassment at work and unequal opportunities. But change is happening too, through education, advocacy, and the courage of young people who are speaking up. With me are two voices from the National Youth Parliament who debated these very issues. Yakshini Mattarooa, law student and student accountant, and Ahseek Mohammad Uzair, law with management student at the University of Mauritius. Together we'll explore their perspective as young leaders. Welcome both of you. Can you introduce yourself, Ahseek?
Good morning, Nishka. I am Ahseek Mohammad Uzair, 22 years old. I am currently a student at the University of Mauritius, pursuing a degree in law with management. I'm currently in my third year, and I will be ending my last academic year next year. And I live at Notre Dame Long Mountain and also at Laverite Saint-Pierre.
And you, Yakshini?
So I am Yakshini Mattarooa and I am a third-year law student at the University of Central Lancashire, and I am also a student accountant. I'm currently completing my level 3 ACCA, and I'm hoping to complete both by next year, hopefully.
You both were at the National Youth Parliament. However, in our real parliament, we know that women's representation is still very low. Why do you think Mauritius struggles to have more women representing our government?
Ok, so si nous regardons dans le monde en entier, ban statistiques ça qui dit nous, ban femmes je te représente 10 un petit plus qui encore ban place dans ban parlement à travers le monde. Ça c'est pour le monde, nous peut dire. Concernant Maurice, nous avons actuellement 67 membres dans le parlement, excluant Madame la Présidente, et que dans ces 67 membres-là, nous avons 13 femmes. The statistics speak for itself. So, dans ces 13 femmes-là, nous avons deux ministres. Madame Dr. Jyoti Ditton et Madame Ariane Navarre-Marie. Alors, ça va nous faire là même de nous la réponse à vos questions qui fait nous autant de femmes dans nos parlements.
And you, Yakshini, do you think that young people can push for more equal participation in the parliament?
I think that with more time and modernization, more women are being interested in politics. Let's take the example of the NYP itself. We had 26 women in government on 44 participants in the government. And I think that with more time, with more empowerment, these women are being more interested in politics, and I hope that perhaps in the future we will have that equal representation of women in our parliament today.
So both of you are law students. Is that the reason why it pushes you to discuss more about justice and fairness? What inspired you personally to get involved in discussions about gender equality? Yakshini.
So I think that women today have made significant impact in the law, in legal professions, and globally as well. We have made an impact concerning human rights and women rights, which is also part of a human right, we can say. But I have seen that gender bias, like women, been more towards family law and domestic violence cases, and we label it as more feminine, but perhaps often look down on high-profile cases, for example on drugs or money laundering or frauds, like the high-profile cases. And I think that this is a bias that should be tackled, because competence has no gender, and both men and women should be given equal chance.
And you, Ahseek, is there something that personally drove you towards this subject?
Pour moi personnellement, il parvient la cause moi un étudiant en droit qui fait moi attiré à l'égalité des genres. Pour moi, c'est une question de principe, l'humanité. Beaucoup de monde pensent que l'égalité des genres, cause de l'égalité des genres, c'est une question de femmes contre hommes, the battle of the sexes, comme on le dit en anglais. Mais il n'est pas ça. Quand nous pouvons mettre madame et monsieur égal, nous ne pouvons pas favoriser personne, ni monsieur, ni madame. Et aussi, nous avons ce malentendu là qui l'égalité des genres, il y a un agenda de l'Occident. Ça veut dire, it is from the West. Côté dans madame et côté dans monsieur, que de cohabiter, coexister, bizarre une égalité des genres. Ok. Il n'y a pas un agenda de l'Occident, il y a un agenda universel, comme si. Alors, pour moi, personnellement, l'égalité des genres, il y a un concept qui concerne tout le monde. Pas seulement les étudiants, les adultes, les enfants, et tout le monde bizarre comme ça. Et que il n'y a pas une affaire qui est récente. Nous ne sommes pas pétrolier récent. Mais si nous guettons bien, les historiens disent qui l'égalité des genres, il est là depuis le 15e siècle. Il y a une madame, Christine de Pisan, qui écrit un livre, un écrivain médiéval, et qui commence à cause le ban de préjugés, qui commence à challenge ban de préjugés dans cette époque que je peux faire le ban de madame. Après, là, nous finissons l'époque suffrage, que nous finissons droit de vote pour ban madame, Nouvelle-Zélande becoming the first country to add that, and then après, là, nous avons waves, feminist waves. Alors, la cause, il est tout le temps là. C'est juste nous qui ne pouvons pas acknowledge cette présence. Alors, now, qu'il peut venir un peu plus flagrant, well, I think it is time that we are here on the plateau, and it is a good time qui nous cause nos savantisés qui longtemps participé à assez d'importance.
And let me just bounce back on that. There's a real wave of anti-feminism that's happening in our world today. As a man yourself, how do you feel about that?
Pour moi, I am myself a feminist. Il n'y a pas besoin qui comment dire, besoin de madame même pour féministe, ou besoin fight pour le droit de madame. Si nous regardons bien, the figures stated themselves qui, naturally, predominantly, the male are the aggressors in gender-based violence. Ça, c'est pas moi qui dis ça, c'est une statistique qui dit ça. Ok? Alors, quand madame peut être succombée de gender-based violence, alors il n'y a pas juste qui madame qui dit go forward and fight for them. Why not us? Why not us? So, it's not a matter of sexes, whether you're a man or woman, but it's a matter of humanity. Principe.
And to add to what Uzair said, we are not only fighting for gender equality, but for gender equity. And let me take a very simple example. At the NYP, the Minister of Gender Equality was not a woman, he was a man. And nowadays we see more men being feminist and trying to uplift women in a way that that they are also at the head of boards, at the head of the government, and also feel empowered in the society.
We've seen many cases that shock the nation of femicides, domestic violence. Personally, how do you react when you hear such news about women getting, in circumstances that they cannot get out of?
I think that the law should empower women more, basically on these cases, that they should get the legal support concerning the perpetrators of gender-based violence, and that laws can be amended.
Do you think there's a reason why there's so many cases where men are perpetrators and women are victims in our society of Mauritius?
I would say mainly it's because of stereotypes that women are natural caretakers, that they take care of their homes, but many people, they see this as being too soft, as being too weak, but it is not. Women nowadays, they can go to work and they can take care of their home at the same time, and I think this is a strength more than a weakness.
That is the dual labor that women can carry. Do you have an opinion on that?
I do. Comment on dit, Yakshini fin cause l'oban la loi, etc. Et il y a des gens qui pensaient qu'il nous n'est plus bizarre une égalité des genres, à cause dans la loi, les finis mandatés qui madame il a droit de vote, il a droit d'étudier, il a droit de travail, alors nous pas besoin égalité des genres. People who think like that needs to wake up. Like, we are in a century where gender-based violence is becoming very flagrant. Oui, nous avons la loi, etc. Mais si les droits existent, nous avons aussi un écart qui nous peut besoin. Comme bonne jeunesse, en tant que bonne jeunesse, we have a voice, and we have to voice out on these things. If the adults are not doing what they are supposed to do, it's us that is going to take the march.
Yeah, and I say that, the youth should not be just spectators, but they should be the actors of this change, yeah.
And talking about youth, during your time at the NYP, have you seen someone or heard a debate or a speech that really moved you about this subject in particular?
I actually remember there was a member of parliament, Udair, and during his speech, he actually, despite being a member of the government, he actually mentioned the wonderful ladies of the parliament, and also citing the leader of the opposition, Ishika, who is actually the first leader of opposition who's a woman. And this shows that with better representation, those debates become more lively and they can bring about real change.
Et pour moi, j'étais le speaker, le président, et que pour moi, il y a deux filles. Une, il appelle Samia Tilak, et le deuxième, c'est le député Prime Minister même, nous pouvons là. Samia Tilak, Lili Tidiao, qui good intentions does not equal to good policy. Ça veut dire qu'il y a des bonnes intentions, mais on n'est pas capable de translate les bonnes intentions dans les policies. Et aussi les dire qui fait nous bien montrer madame comment bien apprendre comment pour fight when the actual aggressors are men in society, and this is not like a personal opinion, this is guided by facts. Okay, with regards to Yakshini dit une affaire qui when the systems are designed to favor a select few, suddenly merit becomes the excuse. This is a very important statement.
Yeah.
Après, did you même dire we are not handing out favors, we are removing barriers. This is what we should do. And si nous déracine the root of the problem et que les causes entrent les problèmes autour de nous, qui fait nous take it one step at a time. Remove barriers and then we tackle the problem from its roots.
So you think that's what we should do for young people, young men and young women who face today problems of inequality in the workplace or in other spheres of society?
Yeah, and I think that when I said that the system is favoring a select few and not just merit, that merit is suddenly the excuse, I was actually referring to the quotas. And let me take an example of a country like Rwanda, who actually had 30% quota on women in parliament, and they went above that to have 61% women in parliament. So this shows that there is true meritocracy and not just ticking the box to fill in the quotas, but quotas being a temporary measure, it can drive gender equality naturally then.
Yes, if countries like Rwanda, you said, right? If they can do it, then why not us? So it is very important. Yes, we may start with quotas, but it will naturally
be there.
It will prepare the future women to take leadership positions. Without these quotas, they may not have been possible. But since we are actually tackling the problem with specific measure, then let's try and see. As you said, it was 30 at first.
Yeah, it was 30%, and then it grew to be 61%.
61%, that doubled.
Yeah,
So-
more than doubled, yeah.
So I think this is it is a very important measure.
And you've also talked about doing it step by step. So maybe we should look at the earlier stages of inequalities, we're going to say. Is there something we can do in the process of someone's education so that at a really early stage itself we can diminish or reduce the inequalities between young men and women?
I think yes.
Have you seen yourself inequalities when you were at school, for example?
At school, I was in a all-boys school. Usually, nous pas trop gagnons ça bonnes affaires là, mais du genre nous gagnons toxic masculinity. Ça c'est une affaire qui est vraiment important, qui m'a besoin causer en tant qu'un homme là, m'a besoin causer là. Il y en a beaucoup de jeunes. It has been ingrained in them since the very beginning of their childhood that they should act a certain way, they should dress a certain way, they have to be alpha males or whatever. Si nous pouvons inculquer sa bonne valeur, bon principe dans vos enfants des autres petits, alors qui nous peut expect pour vous faire devenir dans le futur? They are going to transform into people that we would not want in society. Si nous avons envie que tout le monde vienne alpha males, que tout le monde inculquer une certaine toxic masculinity, how are they going to behave with their mothers in the future, with their sisters, with their wives, with other people's wives, or whatever. So, les affaires qui nous besoin tackle from the very beginning. Et comment on dit l'éducation? Dans la Suède, nous avons beaucoup l'école pré-primaire et primaire qui est un gender neutral curriculum. Qui m'opère dire, ça veut dire les enfants, dès jeune âge, je te faire jouer, je te faire une classe qui pas dire comme bon, ça robot là, ou bien ça le là, les pour un garçon, mais tu fais pas grand droit avec ça. Ou bien une poupée, ou bien quoi que ce soit, un garçon pas grand droit avec ça. Si nous faisons gender, ça m'a fait là bien natural, then pas pour sa question comment dire, bon, bisa fight for it, ou bien comment dire, bisa make sure que comment dire, il tout le temps être elevated, ou bien quoi que ce soit. Il pouvait naturel de mes enfants. So I think we should tackle that from the very root. And from the very root comes from pre-primary, quand nous cause d'éducation.
Yeah, and as Uzair just rightly said, the gender equality does not start at a later stage. It starts very early. It starts even at home, you know. And for me, it is about breaking those stereotypes that perhaps men cannot take cooking classes because it is more designed for women.
Yeah.
But the best chefs I know, they are men.
No, man.
So why create these stereotypes instead of breaking them and giving the choice out to both women and men to choose whatever they feel like doing without those préjudices, comme on dit.
So we've talked about politics, education, inequalities. Now let's talk about signs of progress. Can we say today that Mauritius is progressing towards a more equal future for men and women? How do you feel about it?
I think that I have seen real progress because as has been said earlier, there are now more women in parliament than earlier on. Even though the number is small, like the change is slow, but it is there surely. And I just saw that on the board of directors, we are required to have 25% of women on these boards, so like in positions of authority where they can actually lead the company along with their male colleagues. And also in local councils, we are required to have 30% women in those councils. So with these small changes, gender equality is being achieved. Yeah.
So it's a slow but definite progress.
I would say the same. It is very slow, yes, but it is progress. Nous fait gagner, le gouvernement fait launch une campagne qui s'appelle National Gender Policy 2022-2030. Et sa policy-là, il aide mettre en place, qui ban madame aussi, the equal say in decision making, especially with regards to gender-based violence. Yes, it used to be very male-dominated before, mais qui fait nous pas donner madame la chance pour cause les bonnes affaires qui actually affectent les autres, qui fait nous faire ban miché, prend pas une décision pour madame, que madame capable faire les autres même. Alors pour moi, je trouve que progress is there. It may be slow, but progress is there.
So you're talking about decision making. Is there one reform that you personally would like to implement, if you could, in our society?
Pour moi, si je tiens dans le pouvoir, je peux make sure que madame et cliché have the same voice at every decision making table. Ça veut dire, seulement pour ça arriver, proportion là bizarre là. Bizarre une bonne proportion of men and women. Il n'y a pas qui loin la table de décision, quand tu prends décision, il y en a 10 messieurs, il y en a 10 de madame. Even though they will get the same opportunity to talk and to voice out, but it's still 10 against 2. Alors, nous devons balancer sa proportion là. So this is what I think.
Et pour toi?
I would rather change the way that we perceive leadership. We have always perceived leadership as being strong, and sometimes we often look at men in positions of authority rather than women. And I think that with more leadership programs and mentoring to those women, we can actually achieve a situation where we have more women leading perhaps the country.
I think it's also a question of shifting the mentality, the mindset of the society as a whole. You've also talked about toxic masculinity that begins at a very early age. How do we shift the mentality of a whole nation? Do you have any idea?
Well, il pas ça fait facile. Il peut prendre le temps, mais c'est moi nous capable faire. Comment me dire ban jeunes bisa get instructed from the very beginning that they have to challenge these stereotypes. Si they are not educated enough on this particular topic, nous pas attendre qu'on soit grand pour faire ça. Ça affaires-là déjà ingrained dans la tête, il est pas facile pour effacer ces affaires-là. Alors, nous besoin faire des petits. Besoin d'une bonne cours à l'école, pas juste bonne cours comment dire just to sugarcoat things. Yeah, we are doing that because we need a quota to fill whatever, you know. So, nous pouvons besoin implémenter ces affaires-là qui deviennent concrets. Pas qui comment dire this noir sur blanc nous mettez au papier yes, nous talk about this in school and then it's done. Nous pouvons besoin venir des affaires concrètes et que nous besoin make sure que ban jeunes capables de voice out more. Mais qu'on voice out, qu'on servir les doigts, qu'on nous le Facebook, nous le Instagram, etc. Qu'on servir. Pas tout le temps que nous besoin être agressif. Nous capables de mettre nos opinions, nos perspective on things in a polite and respectful manner. Pas besoin faire le buzz tout le temps, mais nous can still put nos opinions there. So, moi, je pense que les jeunes, dès le début, depuis, comment dire, l'école, jeune âge, nous besoin inculquer ce principe-là dans eux qui se réussissent challenge les stereotypes without any fear or favor.
And I think that the youth, they have a central role to play. And I think that the youth nowadays, they are more empowered. Just as Uzair said, we have Facebook, we have Instagram. And by using these platforms, les plateformes de jeunesse même, I think that they can actually make an impact and break these stereotypes.
Does it not scare you to voice out stereotypes, knowing that there are many people that will disagree with you, especially concerning a topic like you've said, toxic masculinity? We know that there will be guys out there who will be like, does it not scare you?
Il est capable de scary si ou trop prend l'opinion du monde en considération qui pour essayer frame of nature ou personality just to suit them. Si vous connaissez, pardon, si vous connaissez ça fait ça que vous pouvez causer là, it is right. And which even though you are from the minority, you know that what you're telling the people is right, you should continue to do that. Mettre la frayeur de côté, la cause, un jour par un jour, nous pouvons réussir à faire une différence. Mais si nous-mêmes nous step back, nous disons non, du monde pas peut prendre nous compte, peut critiquer nous, bien quoi que ce soit, change is not going to happen. And it does not happen overnight.
And I think that the youth nowadays, they should be bold, they should be fearless, and they should actually speak without fearing about what other people might think of them, because their voice, their opinion, it will actually make an impact to the general public in actually changing the way that society perceives men and women, and we are hoping for a situation that perhaps someday we will not even need to talk about gender equality because it is already there.
Yeah.
And one before last question.
Yeah.
A female prime minister, do you see it happening someday in Mauritius?
I think that it is possible. The prime minister has a lot of responsibilities, there are a lot of challenges, but I do not think that there is a challenge that a man can live up to that a woman can't.
And you?
Pour moi, personnellement, je pense qu'il est possible, mais pas dans un avenir proche. Qui fait? Je ne peux pas dire ça comme ça. Si vous regardez bien, nos partis politiques à ce là, ce qui est à Maurice, la plupart des leaders, c'est men. Alors, pour ça, ça a besoin de changer avant pour nous capables actually get a female prime minister. Alors, il est bien possible, mais pas dans un avenir proche. Nous besoin de changer notre mentalité de jeunes et nous sommes adultes as well. Besoin qu'on get combien de filles, ils sont intéressées pour participer dans National Youth Parliament. This is just a simulation. Alors, quand nous finissons faire un NYP, je trouve que non, nous ne pouvons pas faire. Alors, il n'y a plus beaucoup de femmes qui sont intéressées dans la politique. Alors, it is going to be something that we can expect in the future, but we have to work towards it. Il n'est pas pour venir comme ça même.
I would say that firstly, women should be more interested in politics. Once we have more women in politics, not just in politics, but in position of leadership, like being leaders of various parties, the possibility of having a female prime minister is not something that is absurd.
Et nous avons même une female prime minister in the previous edition.
Yeah, we did.
Alors, we started it.
And finally, if you had to share one truth about gender equality with every Mauritian, every young Mauritian listening, what would it be, Yakshini?
Gender equality is not a favor that is handed out to women, and I think that in countries and in organizations where women are in positions of authority and are equal with men, they make more reasoned decisions, and the whole country benefits from it, the whole society benefits from it.
And you?
Et pour moi, en grosso modo, moi, je peux dire que l'égalité, il pas enlève non à n'importe qui s'en a. Mais plutôt, il donne tous affaires à tout le monde. Vous comprenez? C'était concernant la jeunesse qui m'a vraiment intéressé pour dire quelque chose, là que nous trouvons ça vraiment sur les social media, et que nous causer, les mêmes nous pas écouter qui nous prochain peut dire. Alors, pour la jeunesse, moi, tu peux dire que la parole est une force, mais l'écoute est une sagesse. Nous besoin qu'on façonne les deux pour nous capables créer un avenir plus juste, plus audacieux, plus meilleur pour nous-mêmes. Pas juste pour nous, mais pour nous prochains.
And once meritocracy is a norm, gender equality will also follow suit.
I second.
Thank you, Yakshini and Ahseek, for your insights. What we've heard tonight is that gender equality and equity is not just about statistics or politics. It's about safety, dignity, and opportunities for every young person, from addressing violence that too often stays in the shadows and trying to make everything fairer. We're going to develop a culture of respect and opportunity for everyone.
Indeed.
And thank you also to my team, Abel, Patrice, and Daniel, for today's show. This was Laverite, jeunesse. Until next time, thank you.